Hello, friends and fellow gamers, I am That Zero, and today we are back to chat on some more Last Cloudia. It's been a hot minute, I admit it, but we are going to today be checking out the initial reveal videos for the new Tales of collab series, part 1. I did see the live stream, so I've had a brief glimpse into what these are here, but I've done some of these reactions before where I kind of try to break them down from my perspective of when I'm trying to analyze a new unit and the things that I like to look for. We can only see so much from the on-paper information that we're given in these videos, but I still think that it's valuable to understand the mindset to be in and things to look for. So we're going to go and we're going to react to the two first characters that we're getting, Stahn and Luke. So first, let's see, it looks like we are starting out with Luke, so let's see how this goes. Luke von Fabre. Looks great. Back this up, let's do this S1 again. Okay, so 6 hits on the S1, decent. We've been seeing 6 and 7 hits usually, relatively common. Pretty quick. This is a gap closer, I believe. Okay. Alright, so 12 hits on this one with an okay AoE around the unit. Those can sometimes be valuable since it doesn't require targeting. I'm going to assume that's the case here. Speed-wise, it was really slow, though. So definitely looks pretty clunky since he like draws the circle and then hits it. I'm guessing it probably only persists after he hits it. Which means if he draws the circle and then doesn't get through the slam animation, he might just lose the damage. But we'll see. Okay. Okay, so 16 hits on that. I mean, 16 is a good amount of hits. That's for sure. It's fast enough, probably. Seems slightly slow to me, though. So he does this initial slam, and then this uppercut. Again, could get flinched out of it. Pretty small AoE, probably, so maybe if we're just fighting bosses and such, it works. So, okay. I don't hate it. Ult, I'm not expecting anything super fancy. Starts out all enemies, hits a single target, and then goes back to hitting all enemies. 60 hits is pretty good. It's not bad. Alright, Eldrant-style swordsmanship. Light damage 40%, damage cap plus 12k. Good. Seems good right out the gate. Auto fort and protection. We've been seeing a lot of just like miscellaneous bruisery type stuff thrown in there just to make them bulkier, so that's pretty good. When taking physical hits, chance to nullify damage taken. That's almost always 10%, so I'm just going to assume that's a 10%. Cool. Nice. Very simple and easy to understand, which is good because look at this trait too. Swordsman of Lorelei. When using a skill, fill OL gauge and give unit OL gauge buff. Okay. Based on the amount of filled OLG gauge, max level 1, OL gauge buff active, OL gauge won't fill. Okay, so you fill up a gauge, which I'm assuming is like a buff that gains stacks, probably. That would make sense, I guess. Until eventually you get this buff. And then when you do that, you stop gaining stacks of this other thing. That would be cool. Okay. Assuming that works how I would think. So you'd gain individual increments of this buff until eventually you get to a point where it converts into a full buff. And then you don't gain stacks anymore because you're already at max. Okay, so use enough skills. Great. Sounds reasonable. The only other unit we've had so far with something kind of similar is Shift Leona. Or not Shift Leona, OG Leona, actually. With her key stacks, which didn't work out super well, in my opinion. But anyway, when unit or allies are attribute attacking with a skill/magic, chance to give unit FOF buff of the attribute. Boost chance based on trait level. When given FOF buff, deal powerful extra attack of attribute on the next skill used. Okay. Things I don't like to see. A chance to give a buff. Okay, how big's that chance? That's information we don't know. And then also to the next skill used, which means your individual skills will have to hit hard. Now, the fact this is powerful extra attack, I'm hoping that's like a 50% pursuit attack, which would be great. And then since it's the attribute that was given, that's really great, because he is a light attack unit. I believe he's dual wield. We'll see that on the next page, but that means that he can run Trish. So things could resist light, but maybe be weak to ice damage, for example. And this means that you could have a mage using ice magic, and then him using something like Trish to get full damage output, but then additionally doing extra pursuit damage that then scales up with the weakness to ice, and then running something like Icy Guardian that does extra ice pursuits on crit. And that could have a lot of potential behind it, but we don't know how often that buff applies, and we don't. Right? I mean, that's really it. We don't know how often that buff applies. Yeah, you'd kind of have to be really, really perfect on your micromanaging, even if it's 100% chance per usage. That'd be a thing. I guess the fact that it's also off skills is cool. So if you've got like multiple DPS, you could have like a, say, Shifleona, because I just mentioned her, the summer unit who's ice. So she could be spamming skills, and every time she spams a skill, there's that chance, maybe it's like 50% chance, for him to gain a buff so his next attack does things. And if you're both just throwing out attacks, maybe it ends up being that he gets the bonus attack like every other attack, maybe even every attack if it's high enough. So if that chance is high, that could be really, really good. But if it's low, this could be a dead trait like we've seen on other units, but we'll see. It seems like the OL gauge will come into play in his skills, because this doesn't say anything. This just says how he naturally gets his OL gauge by using skills. So let's continue. All right, so S1 is a gap closer. Great. Oh, okay, that's cool. Guardian Field. So is S2, when he draws the light, that's also a heal. So it does damage and heals allies. Okay, that's pretty cool. Neat. Then wide area combo attack. They're pretty liberal with the use of wide area. That looked like a pretty small area to me, but hey, maybe it just visually wasn't great. All right, over limit. When using a skill, can't be interrupted by most attacks. Give unit OL buff. So, to me this says basically what Nero had. Okay, hold on. So, one of two things. This is either going to cost 200 MP and drain your MP, but it doesn't say that. So no, that's not going to be the case. More likely, it's going to have a really, really easy cost, probably even cost 0, because there's a different condition. Instead of costing MP, you use enough skills to fill up your gauge, and then when your gauge is active, you get your full buff, and then you can activate this magic, which then gives you super armor for X amount of time. You lose that buff, at which case you have super armor, and since you lose the OL gauge buff, I think that means you could start building stacks again. If I'm understanding that correctly. Let me back this up real quick. So, you fill the OL gauge, okay? You give him the buff. When he has the buff, he can use the buff. So, when it's active, that won't fill. Okay, OL gauge buff active, it won't fill. So, jump ahead back to this. Usable only when that is active, and then you lose the buff. So in theory, you use however many skills it takes to fill. Hopefully it's a small amount, 3 or 4 or whatever, so you won't have super armor at first. But then you'll get this buff, you activate the magic, you get super armor, and then you can start refilling that gauge again. So assuming this is like a 40-second buff, it should be really easy to basically just maintain super armor. That sounds really cool. That sounds really great. I like that. I like that a lot. That sounds super cool. Okay. Sick. All right. Carmine Chamber. Skill damage plus 10%. Damage cap plus 2k. Pretty standard, okay? When other chamber skills are not set, skill damage plus 30%. Damage cap plus 8k. Okay, cool. So they're taking the route with him that they did with Shift Merity, where they're like, hey, you can have all her skills and they all do cool different things. But if you turn some off and make her not have access, then the ones you leave on get really, really good. And they just made that be passives instead of skills. So if you just want him to have a big fat damage cap, cool. I mean, 8k is no joke, especially because just jumping ahead here, he comes with dual wield innate, and so far we've seen nothing for single wield, which makes perfect sense. So yeah, 8k on a single wielder when he already has, an extra 12k off his one trait. That's pretty okay. Cobalt Chamber, crit rate plus 3% and then damage up. Okay, cool. Or plus 10% and plus 50%. So, I mean, you might want to run this in something like Arena, possibly, where you might want to go that route where you don't need the damage ceiling, you just need burst damage. So that's really cool. You can put him into that kind of burst damage mode. It could, depending on how the math turns out, maybe it turns out 2k cap with 10% crit rate ends up, actually no, just 10% crit rate, maybe ends up just being better with like Icy Guardian or something for overall max DPS. So that could be a fun thing to play with between like, hey, is damage cap or the 7% crit rate better? I don't know. That could be really cool. SCT recovery speed up, or it's up by more. Boost move speed. Unless that's a huge amount of move speed. Oh, even so, with the other ones aren't active, it just boosts more. This should have been way higher. That should have been way higher. In my experience, even adding 50% SCT recovery doesn't feel that impactful, usually. Especially when we have ways of just getting bursts of SCT back with like Proud Force, or not Proud Force, I'm sorry, Pose of Glory, Spirit Breath, and just having healers support you. So not a huge fan. As a passive though, if you just wanted to have multiple on, cool. I'm not mad at it. It's fine. Grass Chamber. Definitely the first two are the most exciting ones though. Recall. When HP hits 0, auto revive, fully restore HP. Okay, great. A free full heal revive. Never mad at that. That sounds great. Love it for free. And those all stack, so good shit. Whenever an ally is incapacitated, physical damage cap plus 1k, max 5k. Okay. I mean, I aim to not let my allies die, but, I mean, if they do and it's a long fight or something, cool, 5k for that. Sweet. Extra attack boost. Okay, so plus 20% to extra attack damage. Again, that just reinforces something like Icy Guardian is almost certainly going to be his best in slot option. It's going to be really hard to use something other than Icy Guardian on him. Beautiful. Love it. He's definitely got some damage potential here. That paired with the fact that he's light, so he can use Trishula and still get Goddess Kiss procs with his light attack boosts. And then after getting super armor the first time, in theory, depending on how that actually plays out, he could just maintain super armor forever, potentially. That seems pretty good. So, I like it. Alright, so basic stat ups and stuff. Crit up 1 and 3, which are cool. Those are the least efficient ones, so you could just teach him crit up 2, which is only 3 SC, which is nice. Proud Force innate, so for new players, some basic sustain, which is really nice. Meteor Force, that was the one that Kyle had, which I think is just regular attacks do extra light damage or something. So I'm not mad at it, because then that's extra pursuit damage going with his extra attack bonus too. So cool. Oh, he's got regular extra attack boost. So that's plus 30%. That's nice. He's got Spirit Breath innate. Nice. Silver Lining. I think that has to do with curing ailments like once or twice or something. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Comes with Curse Nil. You don't see that very often. Usually they're just base is what they're working with, and you teach him stuff. So he'll be very immune to Curse once you get that. Auto crit, nice. You love to see it. Good save. Dual wield, Soldier Mastery, okay. Sword boost, Sword Mega boost, great. Then we could just teach High boost. Light High and Light Mega Drive, Light Attack Raise 3. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so good. Ultimate Boost 3 to make that even easier. Awaken 2, you love to see that for free as well. You know, he doesn't have something like Indomitable Spirit, which we really like to see, but in general, it's really good. Holy Aura is a little bit wasted, but, you know, easier way to get those stats higher to just make it that much little bit easier to be capping. So, yeah, he's definitely got some potential here. I'm not mad at it at all. Let's do a quick inventory of, like, really loose math caps. So, we saw 12k in his trait 1. I'm just going to assume let's run max caps here. So, that'd be a plus 20k. I'm going to just call this 1 because I'm not going to go with the conditional of plussing the 5 there. So now we're looking at 21. Then we look at these. That should be another 2k. So 23, 24, 26. So like 36k dual wield. That's pretty sick. That's pretty good when you could have super armor and Trish and be able to run pursuit stuff. Not mad at it. Not at all. I will say, just because I don't like paying for it. I'm a little sad to not see something like Light Critical Raise. I would have taken that over Light High Drive, to be frank. Light Critical Raise would have been nice for free, because I won't pay for that unless he caps super easy and I just really want to min-max pursuit damage by getting that crit up. But, yes, that's about the only thing I could see that's a big complaint. But, yeah, he stacked. Looks great. Love it. So now, let's move over to Stahn. Okay, so that S1's fast as fuck. That's like Adele vibes. So 6 hits, and it's ranged. So he gets to like throw the sword, and it looks like it kind of like boomerangs back to him, maybe. Oh no, it just kind of throws fire at him. Okay, cool. Okay, so his S2 is just like a cool, quick front flip. Again, really fast though. That looks super spammable. That's very, very fast. 12 hits on that. Okay, I mean, that's pretty stock standard. Notably, also seems like it could put you behind the enemy. So he could charge in, flip through an enemy to do damage, and then you could have backstab, surprise attack for, I guess, spamming S1s, maybe S3. Let's see how his S3 is. But that's kind of cool, though. It's pretty quick. Okay, and it's very similar to what we just saw on Luke, where it's like a stab, uppercut into another stab. But this does look like probably half or a quarter second faster, which is promising for as far as DPS goes. It's not bad. And it's got a lot of hits up front, too. Yeah, like that little delay at the end is just for an extra 3 hits. The 15's all right away, so it's almost like he's got... It reminds me a lot of if you ever played Monster Hunter and you have the gun lance and you can like stick the thing in and it just explodes. Pop, 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 pop. It's really brutal. That's what it reminds me of, which is really cool. That's a really, really sick looking S3. I like that. But in terms of things that are relatable here is that S3 looks a lot like Dante's S2. Where he like dashes in, lifts them up, and then it explodes. But this looks way cooler than what Dante has. Alright, and then his ult, Final Fury. Okay, single target. 52 hits, single target does not look very good, but you know, that's what it is. Alright, Swordian Device. When attacking with fire physical attacks and special, gain Swordian Device stock. Gain more during boss waves. Okay, so attacking with all sorts of things. So usually when it says attacking with those sorts of attacks or specials, it's normally per hit, but I don't know. We need to test that to see if it's per hit or per use. To see. So, boosts SD level and device skill effects based on SD stock. Max is 6. Okay, so you can gain up to 6 stacks, similar to how Luke is filling his gauge. Okay, and that resets each wave, makes sense. So, yeah, he attacks stuff and he gets stronger. Now, an interesting thing is... okay. So, boost skill device skill effects, I assume that's going to be on the next screen then, so we'll be good. Heir of Sun's Courage. When only one weapon is equipped, so single wielder, which, you know, this has been the year of single wield, so cool. Fire physical damage plus 80%. That's a lot of percent. Alright? And then 20k. Cool. When it's fire attribute, which we usually try to shoot for anyway. So that's really cool. I hope that we see more of that, because that's kind of neat. For having more of a reason to match element other than just your regular attacks. So, nice. So sword plus 100% strength, and then special damage plus 80%, so that should help him cap quite a bit, and special damage plus 12k more. Okay, cool. That's something. Alright, so, frontal long-range fire combo attack. So, like we said, his S1 is ranged. It's saying frontal. It implies to me it probably requires line of sight, which means it's that kind of sucks, at least when we're talking like arena. If it turns out that there's no line of sight restrictions or range restrictions, that could have some potential. That could be cool. Whirlwind leap towards the enemy to do frontal, medium area fire attack. Okay. And then wide area fire combo attack. Again, that doesn't look very wide area to me, but okay. Boost fire damage cap based on the SD level up to 10k and 50% damage. Okay, great. And I like that that's default just standard fire damage. It's not just physical or special or whatever. That's just flat fire damage, so arc skills and stuff can work on him in that regard too. That's cool. Whenever boosting SD level, restore 1 stock for 1 skill. This is a really limited use. I'm curious how this feels. I'm hoping that, judging by how this looks, I wouldn't be surprised if the chance is on skill use instead of on hit. Otherwise, the on hit's probably really low, like 1% chance or something, to be able to get this. I'm hoping you could gain one of these levels every, like, 2 seconds or less would be really great. If it's a super low chance and you're not getting one until, like, for, like, every 10 seconds or something, it would really suck. So, curious to see how that works. And also if the levels, like, degrade over time. Maybe you can get them really quickly, but then you have to hold them by staying aggressive. And if maybe you don't have a way to fuel your SET, his gauge can, like, lower back down, and then it gets weaker because it doesn't, keep that going. So I'm curious to see how that works. It doesn't say it degrades over time, but we'll see. If it just stays at max level once you get there, then I'd imagine it might take a while to build up. Maybe it's something where he doesn't get up to level 6 until, like, 40 seconds in, or whatever it might be. So, we'll see. But every time that boosts, you get 1 stock. We'll see. That could be really good. I mean, it's random. So, like, if you just happen to hit, like, multiple S3s in a row, or S3s and S2s, and everything's pretty quick, that could be okay. Could. It will probably end up feeling like a slightly cooler version of quick reload that we've had before, where you have, like, a 50% chance to, like, get part of the stock back. So, or whatever the numbers are. I don't know. Hot-Blooded Man. Battlestar auto-cast Braven Fort. Lasts until incapacitated. I really like when they do this. It's just cool. It's kind of, like, continuous, but you have to stay alive, so usually not too hard to keep people alive, so that works. Fire Spell. When only weapon equipped is 1 sword, of course, and hitting attribute weakness, damage cap plus 20k. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm just going to assume him at level 6, because hopefully we can hit level 6 pretty easily. So that's 30k, and on his original base, we were looking at 20k, so that's 50k. So 60k total. More or less unconditional, assuming we can get that gauge up reasonably well, which is looking really good. I mean, that's like Vayne, we're looking at roughly Vayne levels here, which is great. 1 Blade Breaker. When only 1 weapon is equipped, physical break plus 150%. I have grown extremely pessimistic and numb to seeing break stuff on new units, because if history has shown us anything, it's if Adis wants to put some break passives on a unit, it's going to succeed at making that unit pretty average at break. Like, we haven't really seen a good proper breaker unit since Murrin. Legraine's probably the closest. He's pretty decent at it. Everybody else is just, like, so mid. Shifleona's, like, okay, but yeah, we'll see. It's really, really hard to justify going single-handed. Like, if he genuinely ends up being a good breaker, like Murrin or better, then you could run him as single-wield to do most damage. But if you want him to just break, it's probably still going to be better to just simply run him dual wield, because doubling your hits on dual wield is just way better than what single hand breaker is going to give you. But you'll obviously lose out on a bunch of damage. So then he just becomes a breaker instead of damage. So I'm guessing that's how it's going to look, but we'll see. So a bunch of stat ups as usual. We're going to skip over that. So he does come with guards, which is interesting. He doesn't seem like a unit that would guard to me, but either way. Guard, charge, guard, heal. Those are some good ones. That's self-sustain, oppose a victory, self-sustain, nice. Auto protect. So we've got Fort, Brave, and Protection. Not bad. Breaker, Doppelhander, favorite sword boost 2. Or Doppel boost 2, which means you can give him Doppel boost. Cool. Sword high boost, K. Sword high, or fire high drive, fire attack raise 2, fire attack raise 3. Lots of generic boosts. You'll love to see it. Fire critical raise. Okay. Feels kind of random on him. That's like the only critical thing he has. I mean, I'll take it for free, but it's like literally the only crit thing he has, so that's weird. Armor HP plus 2, armor high boost, giant killing 2, physical weak point boost, piercing. Skill charge 1, convenient to have for new accounts for sure's. Indomitable spirit and strategic point. I don't remember what strategic point is. Okay, against broken enemies. I mean, that'd be cool, but again, Shift Lance is one of those examples of, oh, you're going to give them things that make their break better? Except they're not going to be very good at breaking anyway? Just kind of okay? Okay, so we'll see though, because an extra 5k there, that could be really nice. So he could be one of the first units that like he incentivizes himself to break things, because like his damage actually gets a bit better off of it. That would be cool. I'd love to see strategic point teachable. That would change people's minds about break and encourage people to break more often, which, you know, that'd just be super cool. So much like Luke, we need to do some testing and actually see. The thing that's going to make or break him in my mind is if his break's actually good, because then he'll do something unique. Otherwise, he's probably going to end up being a pretty decent DPS, I think, on paper. He gets quite a bit of his bonuses, and like the only thing that's really conditional is this, and if he doesn't have this 10k, he still at base is going to have like 50k cap. More, because he's got like attack raise 3 and stuff. So like over 50k cap. So like unconditionally, he's still got like Vayne levels of cap. He might, I feel like he's still going to be a little slower in general than Vayne, but either way, if he's even comparable, he's going to be really good. So like I'm more confident in seeing the just like baseline damage of this character than Luke. Because you don't need this. You don't need this conditional thing to be good. The numbers could suck on it, and it's kind of okay. Oh, I totally skipped over device heavy. So when physically attacking, boost the break. So an extra 150% at level 6. So this is another good example. This is not limited to being single-handed like this, which means that's just a free 150% to go along with Breaker, and then the arc that you have equipped, and you could run dual wield with an actual, like, with like the Cerulean Axe, which gives it a 50% break. And like when you add all that stuff up and then with dual wield, like it's going to be a crazy amount of break bonuses. So if his base break is good, like good enough in single wield, it's going to be crazy in dual wield. But if you want to be like Murren and do break and do damage, I'm guessing his break will end up being less than Murren's, but his damage or his DPS potential will be higher, closer to somebody like Vayne. So we'll see. We'll see. And I totally forgot to actually hit the arcs, so we're going to do the arcs quick. Alright, so Ultra Kronos. So this is the boss. This is the core boss we're actually getting in game that we're going to fight. This artwork looks sick. This is so good. This boss just looks grotesque and awesome. I love it. Oh, this is quite an arc trait. Okay, for every living ally with a sword equipped other than unit, physical attack damage plus 10%, max of 30%. Okay. So when you have lots of sword units, great. Good thing we're getting 3 sword units in this collab. And, you know, this is last sword, yeah, that's what people say. When reviving an ally with active skills, give ally undead type and strength and int plus 30% buff once per wave when only weapon is equipped as one sword. Damage to guardian enemies plus 50%, damage cap to non-guardian enemies plus 2k. This feels like a classic case of a collab arc where that is just kind of a big random mashup of effects that are all like kind of good, but like not insane. It's all right. It's cool, I guess. All right, Swordian Might. When only weapon equipped is one sword, attack damage plus 15%. Okay. Attack damage. So that's just all damage. Cool. To same attribute as the equipped weapon. So all attack damage of that. So depending on the cost of that, that's really nice. My hope would be that that's like 6 SC. But maybe because it's like conditional and situational, maybe it would be a little cheaper. But the fact that it's all damage, I feel like I'd have a hard time with that being the case. So I feel like it's probably going to be 6 since it's all damage. So yeah, we'll see. 5 would be nice because then it'd be in line with something like Besties. But yeah, 6 feels about right on that. 40 seconds after battle start, give damage dealt plus 20%. Again, generic damage, which means that's going to work on mages. That's going to work on everybody. And damage dealt, like, I'm curious what that buff icon's going to be, because we don't see just generic damage. So that should probably stack with almost everything. So it'd be interesting if we keep seeing stuff like this, right? This is like an unfast buff. So you get no benefit for the first 40 seconds, but if it's a fight that's going to last like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, you don't have it for 40 seconds, and then you get the buff, and it just continues to work, which is pretty cool. It's not an auto buff, so I assume that if you... Yeah, so it says permanent until incapacitated. So if you die, you're going to lose it, and then you just get 0 effect. But just, like, stay alive. Don't suck. Easy. Fire Drive Teachable. Cool. And then these other ones, just some sword stuff that's pretty common. Okay. Sweet. All right. Oh, I'll butcher this name. Berselius. I'm going to go with that. Light and dark attack damage plus 10%. So again, generic damage, which we don't see too often. I mean, Zelbius offers light, but still. Crit rate plus 3%. That could be better. Stats over 200. This is going to be a good weapon for people that are just kind of starting out. We don't really have a ton of swords that are ether rewards that are good. So I guess if somebody grabs this, it's there. It's something. It's dark attribute. I don't hate it. I mean, we don't have a lot of good dark swords anyway. This doesn't blow my mind, though. This is just fine. This is not insane to me. But, alright, cool. Overall, arc looks pretty decent. The teachables on it look like they're generally applicable, which is nice. Alright, so we've got Battle of Eldrant. Alright. When an ally uses attribute attack magic, give a damage plus 30% buff for the next skill or attribute used. So, similar effect to what Dude actually gets, except this is specifically only attack magic, whereas his trait is also for skills, which is way more applicable generally. You get auto haste, cute. Whenever a special is used, all attack attribute damage plus 5%, damage taken minus 5%, max up to that. Okay. So you can, if you can use multiple specials, you gain damage reduction. The extra attack damage doesn't matter much. Like 15% damage is not a lot. Minus 15% generic damage taken, like that is good, but like tied to specials, I don't know. This again feels too situational to be worth for like relatively minor buffs. I guess place where it could be usable is if you don't have a ton of options for damage in arena. You know, maybe you don't have something like prefects, for example. I mean, it's still 30% buff on top of your other damage if you have a unit that's like spamming Blizzard or something. But yeah, I don't love it. I'm not super excited. For boss wave, strength and defense plus 7%. I mean, technically it's going to be multiplicative with all your other bonuses, so it's going to be more than just a basic stat up, but 7%, I don't know. It doesn't sound that great. I guess if it ends up being like maybe like 3 SC or less, it's fine. If it's like 1 or 2, it'd be pretty good. I could slot that in, I guess, but that doesn't excite me at all. We cannot see eye to eye. Anti-type effect damage plus 20%. Anti-type attack damage taken minus 10%. That's pretty great. I like that. Yeah, I mean, there is diminishing returns on anti-type effect damage. Like if we're already doing 100% bonus damage, adding 20% means that like the total damage output we're getting, this is really like a 10% increase when you're hitting Slayer damage. But still, it's extra damage. So like, I'm not too mad at it. And then armor blind resist. That's interesting. So we haven't seen something like that before, where it's just more ways to buff up your resistances. I will say I've never been at a point where I'm like, I can have plus 3 resist. I need more, though. Just doesn't really happen too often. But this could be more efficient. So maybe blind resist normally is 4 SC. Maybe this one's like 2 or 3 SC and just requires you to have armor. So I assume that will be the case because it's conditional. So that's cool. I'm not mad at that. And it also pushes us in this direction where single wield has another reason to use it. So on some of those units where maybe you don't know, maybe you're on the fence of, oh, should I be single wield or dual wield? Because dual wield's usually just better on almost everyone. We're now starting to get more and more potential reasons that you'd want to single wield. So like one, maybe you have a limited amount of gear and you don't want to use 2 swords on all of your units. Well, you could just use one good one there and then have them in like armor or clothes. Here could also be, hey, you get SC saves because you can get extra blind resist or eventually stun resist or something. And maybe you could max out and make you nil in all the things that you need for a fight, and it saves you half the SC because you chose to go armor. And maybe the damage that you lose from not going dual wield is only like 20-30% of the damage, and that trade-off could maybe be worthwhile. So, not mad at it. Rest of these are completely dead skills. I don't give a fuck in the slightest. Kronos symbol. Alright, battle start, give barrier that nullifies basic status ailments 3 times. Cool. No extra stats, no resistances, anything like that, but that's great. I like that a lot. That's a good effect, especially in something like Arena. Yeah, that's all I have to say. That's a pretty good AER. It's not like chaseable or something, but I wouldn't be mad at getting that. If I had to pick one of these, I would say that I'd be most excited for the other arc, just because of some of the teachables on it. This one, I think, we cannot see eye to eye is probably the only one that I care about very much on this arc. That and the AER, whereas this other one, the AER kind of sucks, but I wouldn't mind having the Swordian Might as well as Now We Will End the Battle, and Fire Drive Teachable isn't bad either. So, like, I definitely don't hate that. But, yeah, good stuff. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. We are, of course, getting a free unit ticket, which means one of these 2 units, either Stahn or Luke, is going to be yours as long as you log in and play during the collab. So, let me know down in the comments, what are you guys hoping to get? Me, personally, I don't know. I feel like Stahn has the most guarantees as far as quality. And I'm excited to see if he's like our first single-wield breaker that actually can do some shit. But Luke seems like he probably has the highest DPS potential, so depending on the numbers he's working with and how easy he can get max stacks and then like maintain super armor, he could be exceptionally good. He's got really good base caps, unconditionally, with dual wield, and yeah, I'm excited to see how he plays out. So I'll be happy to get either of them personally. I'm not overly excited that out of this entire collab, we're getting 3 more just sword physical DPS users. It doesn't feel that crazy exciting to me, but I like new toys. I like to play. I like to test. So it's going to be fun, and I hope you guys have fun too. Until next time, thanks for stopping by, and go forth and murder things.